So does anybody else have a weird feeling of deja vu, or is it just me? I'm serious, dude. During the entirety of the Switch 1 generation, I felt like this exact same situation was happening over and over and over again. Whether it was Mario Tennis Aces, Super Mario Party Jamboree, or even Mario Golf and eventually Mario Strikers. You get those first reveals. Everyone starts to equate it with something that they played back in the day. So in the case of Mario Tennis, for example, they're like, oh, remember all of those RPG elements that were in the Game Boy Color games? And then people just start to psych themselves up expecting way more for these multiplayer spin-off games than they really should be expecting. Especially in the case of Mario Tennis Fever, because they're like, it's a new console generation. Nintendo's putting in all this effort. It's going to be different. It's going to feel like a whole nother situation. Why else would they justify making a whole another tennis game when they could have just done Mario Tennis Aces Switch 2 Edition? But then this morning, I'm seeing all of the reviews and I'm seeing all of the discussions around Mario Tennis Fever, and I'm like, yeah, we've been here. We've had this same conversation. If you guys remember, a few months ago, in my videos I mentioned, I'm like, like the same hype that we're having right now for Mario Tennis Fever was the same exact reactions we had for Mario Golf and Mario Strikers. I'm like, the way that people are hyping this up as if it's going to be the sports title that finally feels like they're putting in more effort. And I mentioned that in the videos, and I was like, all of these other games, they said the same thing. I'm like, don't be surprised if Mario Tennis Fever comes out and we're looking back to the same old story where everybody's kind of like, this is a very undercooked title, where like the multiplayer aspect is good, but the general gameplay is usually tight enough, and that's normally supposed to be okay, but people have higher expectations for a greater single-player experience. Something to keep you busy where if you don't have your friends around you, you can still have a lot of fun. And it's just really weird over this past decade seeing people have the exact same reactions over and over again for these sports titles. And these spin-offs in general too, because like obviously this happens with Mario Party. Now, mind you, there are kiosks now that have Mario Tennis Aces in stores, right? So you can actually stop by and try the game before you buy it. Something I actually managed to do the other day when we were shopping. And I remember while playing it, I'm like, for something about this game feels easier. And I'm like, it doesn't make any sense though. Maybe I'm just gotten really good at Mario Tennis, right? I've been playing since the Nintendo 64. But there was definitely something about the experience that felt way easier than it should have felt. And I wasn't quite sure what it was. And now I'm reading all these reviews, and the reviewers are saying the same thing, except they're kind of breaking it down more mechanically. The ball is a lot less likely to land out of bounds. There's a much lower skill ceiling here, and it's more about the multiplayer mayhem, which is good. It can cater to a certain crowd. But Mario Tennis, at least Mario Tennis Aces on the Switch, was very competitive, and it was very fun for being competitive. So it feels like yet another one of those franchises that have been watered down and made much simpler and focused a lot more on the chaos, which there's an audience for, and I'm not saying it's something that shouldn't exist at all. But at the same time, you're taking away something very valuable from the people that enjoy what the competitive nature of Mario Tennis Aces was. But even beyond that, you're talking about a single player mode where it seems like the first half of it is just one stinking long tutorial. And then on the back end, when it feels like it finally starts to take off, it ends abruptly. And it's weird seeing the exact same patterns mentioned in every single review. So it's not like this is just one or two reviewers that mentioned it. Even Alex from Nintendo Life, he like hyped himself up. He was like, oh, I saw the trailers and I saw the different environments and all that cool stuff. And I was expecting something a lot more in-depth with all of the RPG elements. But even he let himself succumb to the Nintendo hype. Now, granted, he works for Nintendo Life, so it's kind of his job to, I guess. And I think they still gave the game like an 8 out of 10. But, if Nintendo Life is giving a Nintendo game an 8 out of 10, you might as well just close up shop and go home. There's nothing for you here. And I do have to give a shout out to one of the reviews I read. They were one of the few to actually mention the $70 price tag, because that's something that people just want to scoff over, right? Like it said, hey, I don't know if I want to spend $70 on this title, even if the core gameplay itself is fun. And, he didn't have to put a little subset underneath it where it was like, well, I don't know why they're getting hate for this because every single game now is $70 or 60 euros. So why do people only call out Nintendo for this? No, he was just being matter of fact about it. He was like, this is Mario Tennis, right? We already have actually multiple Mario Tennises that you can play that are fun on the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. You can play Mario Tennis Aces or you can play Mario Tennis 64. And both of them will provide tennis. That's what you're looking for at the end of the day. And the core gameplay just really hasn't changed all that much. Not enough to justify spending that much money anyway. I do think there are a couple things that are very interesting about this. Number one, the fact that it's not a Switch 2 edition title. And I wonder if in their mind, they're like, well, the people that are going to buy this game are going to buy it regardless. And they're not necessarily trying to reach like a whole new audience of tennis players. They're like, we have the core tennis audience. They're going to buy this game. They're going to spend $70. Rather have that instead of the $20. And I think that might be the approach that they went through here, because otherwise, why else would they not just do a Switch 2 edition? They just added some rackets. They could have added a separate game mode. Right? We saw the same thing with Jamboree, for example. The other thing is the fact that the demo that they had for this game is specifically a kiosk at the store instead of a demo that you can just download on Nintendo Switch Online. They had Nintendo Switch Online demos for Tennis Aces, and that sold the title. I remember there was like a free weekend where anybody could jump on Nintendo Switch Online and you can play Mario Tennis Aces with anybody around the world. And that weekend was probably peak Mario Tennis. I don't know if there was ever following that as exciting as a time to play Mario Tennis. Even after I bought Aces, when you jump online, because a lot of people were like, kind of like, okay, I had my fun on the weekend. I don't know if I want to buy the game now. But that, I remember that experience for that weekend sold the game for me and probably for millions of others around the world. They didn't do that for Fever. And I wonder if it's because people would have played the game and been like, okay, I'm not spending $70 on this. It's good. It's fun. If there's a discount in 5 or 6 years, then maybe I'll buy it then. Or what could be worse is that the people that actually are tennis enthusiasts, or at least Mario Tennis somewhat enthusiasts, that are not guaranteed to buy it, maybe they're on the fence, might have played the demo and realized they don't really need the game at all. That might have cost them some sales, quite frankly, right? Because those demos prior to a game releasing, they're very valuable, right? I mentioned Mario Tennis Aces, that sold me on the game. I had the same experience with Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and so many other people had the same idea where they jumped online for that free open network beta, and that caused so many people to go and buy the game. Same thing happened with Kirby Air Riders. A lot of people ended up playing it, and they're like, yo, hang on, this game is a lot better than we expected, and they ended up purchasing it. It always tells me that developers are a lot more confident in the demo creating sales if they're throwing it directly on the eShop. But I don't think they're necessarily that confident with Tennis Fever. I don't think they have enough to make it stand out as its own tennis experience worth $70, right? That's a very big key point here. Like, you're telling somebody to spend $70 on a spin-off sports title if they're not enthusiasts at it. Maybe they're on the fence, for example. And trying out the demo might have been more than enough for a lot of people. But honestly, this just feels like a typical Nintendo Switch 2 title, right? They did the same thing last time. That's the whole theme here. They released the Switch, they released the Switch 2. At the start of the following year, they released Mario Tennis, so they're doing it again over here. In Western markets, at least, the Switch 2 did not appeal to the audiences as much as it did previously, because most of the audience in the West was like, we already have a Switch at home. This thing is overpriced. Why would I go and buy it? Same thing with tennis. They're like, we already have tennis at home. Why would I need to go out and buy Mario Tennis Fever right now if I'm already playing Mario Tennis Aces? Or what's even worse, if I'm barely playing Mario Tennis Aces. I think the IGN review mentioned, they're like, this is not going to be the main feature of a game night when you have friends over. Because that's when it's the most fun. That's when you want to play these spin-off titles. They're like, it's not going to be the main feature of a game night. They're like, but it's good if you want to pick up 2 or 3 games and put it down. And that's actually exactly what Mario Tennis Aces is to my friend group right now. If we randomly decide every few weeks, we're like, hey, we haven't played tennis in a while, let's jump on there. We get on there, play 2 or 3 games. That's it. We got it out of our system, right? We don't need to play all that often. And actually, what's funny is we don't even use all of like the additional stuff. We have it just basic tennis mode. So there's times where we decide to play the Nintendo 64 version and do the ring shot competition. Because it still feels like Mario Tennis. And there's people that are playing with us that were born after the GameCube. Some of my younger cousins are in their early 20s, right? They were born after the GameCube came out. They've played a little bit of Mario Tennis Aces, and that translates directly to the Nintendo 64 version. And it would do the same thing for the GameCube and the Wii U. And now even with Fever. The Fever rackets are going to add something spicy the same way that those trick shots and everything added it to Mario Tennis Aces, but it's not going to be enough to dramatically change the experience. And I think it's a meme at this point that people like to pretend that Nintendo just keeps releasing the same games over and over again, but in this case, they kind of are, right? It's not really that much of a big change, no matter how much people expect it. And then there's always people that argue, and they're like, well, what more do you want from a tennis title? And, we have Golf Story came out almost a decade ago. That's like a gold standard right there. That was a decent 15-hour RPG adventure. And I don't see why Nintendo and Camelot do not have, whether it's the time or the budget or the inclination to put that effort in. Actually, I do see it. Why would they put that much effort in when they know it's not going to sell like that much more? Because they're not going to put in that extra effort if it's not guaranteed money that's coming back. And in their minds, they're like, whether we put that effort or not, we're still going to get the same Mario Tennis audience. And we're not going to get anybody new to join in. Maybe there might be a fraction of people that see the extra effort put in and decide to spend that money, but they won't find any value in that otherwise. But yeah, here's a fun little thing for you to try out. If you see any of the Mario Tennis Fever reviews, go back and watch some of the previous reviews from the same people when it comes to Mario Strikers, Mario Golf, and Mario Tennis. and even Mario Party, some of the older reviews, and you'll find almost the exact same discussion, the exact same talking points, perhaps even the exact same comments in like the different threads about those games, or in the comment sections of the reviews even. And I just think it's laughable at this point how often we keep going through the exact same cycle with the release of these titles. But then again, today there was like a rumor from somebody that the Nintendo Direct is guaranteed to come next week, and people started eating that up right away. Because right now, the only thing to talk about in the Nintendo world, the only thing anybody can make any videos on is fake Direct leaks and fake Direct rumors. And they're just going to keep that generating as long as they can until the next Direct eventually comes and be like, hey, see, I told you. And the people are just eating that up, and they're falling for it over and over again, every single time. It's bizarre. It genuinely feels like you're in a fever dream sometimes. But honestly, one of the worst parts of all this is that Mario Tennis Fever is part of Mario's 40th anniversary celebration. So you're looking at Mario Tennis Fever, which is very much just a mediocre tennis game that's coming up. Something that's probably not justified if you already own Mario Tennis Aces on your Switch. Then you're looking at some multiplayer game modes for Mario Wonder, which many people are not happy about that, obviously. You're looking at a Yoshi game that takes a franchise that's already catered towards babies, and it seems like this one is going to be literally catered towards infants. And then finally, you have the Mario Galaxy movie. I guess technically you had Galaxy 1 and 2 re-released again, but that was its own little mess. And despite all of that, I'm hearing people plead from Nintendo to do something for Zelda's 40th. And I'm like, are we sure we want them to? Like, are you really ready to let yourself down and be disappointed that much by Nintendo again? Right? They're not going to put that much effort into anything. That's just the reality of how they operate. So it's up to people. If they want to get themselves hyped up and they want to get excited because they need something to be excited about, by all means. I don't want to poop on your parade. But for those of you that resonate with what I'm saying and you're like, we've been through this discussion, we've seen it happen over and over again, I can't be the only one. Like, there's got to be others out there that feel it, right? I genuinely feel like we are living in the Matrix. But hey, that's just the reality of Nintendo in 2026. They don't really need to appeal to people that have some kind of higher standards. Like, the bar is very low in order to get enough people to put money into these titles, and it's working for them, so why would they stop? Little cost, little effort, and high prices. That's the Nintendo magic. Thank you for listening, and I will catch you on the next one.